So we've got a pond here at the moment. It's got a filter running here. The filter's giving very good surface agitation. There is a bunch of healthy fish in this pond, but the key to this pond has basically been low stocked. So this will be a very low maintenance pond, assuming the stock is low. Now what we're doing at the moment is we're adding an extra filter, which is the same as this one. Now once again, this one is giving very good surface agitation, but what it's not really doing is exchanging water at the other end. Now due to power restrictions, we're needing that filter to be at this end. So what we're going to do is put an elbow on it and shoot the water down. So then though there's not going to be a heap of power going that way, having water going in that direction is going to create an amount of kinetic energy to allow the filtered water to exchange with each end of the pond. Now as you populate the pond, that comes down to how regularly the filters need to be cleaned, because this is an internal filter that also contains a UV sterilizer. So it is important to once a year replace the UV sterilizer that's inside this filter, and that's what keeps the water nice and clear. And then probably every 2 to 4 weeks, depending on your stock, you want to give your filter a clean, which is just pull the cap off, the lid off, clean all the media in water that you've removed from the pond, then put the filter back in again. We're going to do that right now with this filter here. But once that one's installed and it's pumping water down the pond, then we're going to double the capacity of the pond. And the other thing we're going to be aware of is that this is going to allow us to add more fish, but we also need to be aware of the fish growing. So if you want low maintenance, the first thing is the bigger your filter, the less it needs to be maintained. And the other thing that's going to make the massive difference is going to be the quality of the fish food. So for this particular pond, these fish are a very nice weight. They're not too fat, they're not too skinny, and they actually do look quite healthy. And there's plenty of algae growth, which is quite natural on the inside of the pond. Removing that bio cover may make it look nicer, but that bio cover is actually very healthy for the pond. It's going to encourage lots of microorganisms. The algae is going to have a positive effect on the environment, and it's going to give a very good bio cover. So having the pond internally nice and clean may look the part, but is biologically negative. So we're going to install that filter now. And the other thing that we'd highly recommend is, if you're doing anything like this, is before you do think about adding new fish, make sure you bring a sample of water and a little video of the situation down to see us at the shop, and then we can check over it before you add new fish. Because it's very common that you can have a very stable situation like this, where the fish are very healthy and happy, but when you add new fish, that's when you end up having a problem, because you may have too high a GH or KH, or any of your levels may have over time deteriorated, and the fish that are in here have got used to it and they're completely fine. It's when you add the new fish that are the problem. So make sure you don't go adding fish to an established situation unless you have bring down a sample of water in a video. So one of the ways to tell when your filter needs cleaning is the output of the filter. So you can see clearly now that the output of the filter is much better than it was before, because over time the filters get clogged. So what I've done is actually just pull the filter out, got some water out of the pond, clean the filter material in the water from the pond. That maintains all the good bacteria in the filter for the fish. What you don't ever want to do is pull the filter material out of the filter and hose it out with tap water, because your chlorine in the tap water is going to kill the good bacteria, which could result in the death of your fish. And then put it all back in again and keep an eye on that flow. When you notice that flow decreasing, then you know it's time just to give it another quick clean. So the water results for the pond that we just serviced, there's basically no ammonia, there's no nitrite, there's basically no nitrate. So all the nutrient levels are quite low, and the pH is very alkaline, and the KH is 3, which I'm happy with, and the GH is basically 0. So there's no immediate change that needs to occur with the water quality of this pond. The nutrient levels of this pond are very good. In a perfect world, we could probably add a little touch of salt just for the immune system of the fish, but we definitely don't want to see that raise too much, otherwise we will affect the plant growth. So all in all, the water quality of the pond is very good, and that makes sense because the pond is rarely getting fed because it's been winter, and the pond is not overstocked. As you increase your stock, then that's going to put more pressure on your nutrient levels, and it's going to have a downward pressure on your pH and KH. So as the pond is now, the water quality is very good. Just a tiny add of salt may improve the fish's immune system a little bit, but that would be with a very low importance.